I will say that a lot of Christian ideals bleed into, yes.
If you don't mind, really quick, just on you're Muslim.
Yes.
Do you think Islam is less oppressive than Christianity?
I think that the media wants to frame certain narratives. I think if we're talking about religion,
sure,
a lot of times religion can be weaponized against women and used to oppress them. Okay? And if we're talking about the West, of course the West is going to want to frame Islam, whatever, as oppressive, this, and that. Am I making the argument that Christianity is more oppressive than Islam? Not necessarily.
But, I mean, I don't think it's just media framing. So, I mean, we have, for example, Islamic doctrine that we can look at.
Okay, let's talk about that. What Islamic doctrine is oppressive to women?
Oh, well, I mean, again, I'm not a theological expert, but what I could point to, for example, like I think in Muslim majority countries, you tend to see less freedoms for women. So if you look at most Western countries that are either Christian or have like a Christian heritage, women have like really robust freedoms in either Christian countries or
so what do you define
Christian
as freedoms?
Countries.
Sorry.
Oh, sure, like ability to vote. Well, I mean, like, for example, do you think United States is more, at least as it relates to women, is more free than like Afghanistan, which is a Muslim country?
Yeah, but like in what regard? So if we're talking about women owning land.
All of them?
Like currently?
Yes. So if you're going to say, so are you saying that freedom equates to how women get to dress? Or are we talking about right to own land, etc.?
You think the only restriction on women's freedom in Afghanistan is their dressing ability?
No, I never said that. I'm just asking you to define freedom. Freedoms. Like if we're talking, so if we're talking about, for instance, Saudi Arabia versus if we're talking about Afghanistan versus if we're talking about Iran, it's all different.
I mean, I would probably argue, again, I'm not the expert in like all, Muslim majority countries.
Yeah, so that's, so sorry to interrupt you, but that's what I'm saying. It's very nuanced.
Sure.
So I can't speak to all Muslim majority countries.
Sure. I would just
and then if we're talking about countries that are under the Taliban, or ISIS, etc., that's also very different.
And you did cite to female genital mutilation. You are aware that FGM is typically practiced, well, not exclusively, but it is more so practiced in Muslim majority countries than in Western Christian countries?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, that doesn't mean I agree with that practice. I think everyone, for example, if we're citing the KKK, the KKK claim to be Christian nationalists and they still kill black people, okay? So what I'm saying here is people take faiths and they become extreme. They can take an iteration of faith and take it way too far. But that is when I'm speaking for, in my personal life, I practice religion, that does not mean that I stand for a lot of the ways that it has been corrupted and a lot of social things that it imposes on women.
Well, hold on, but you really quick, you invoked the KKK here when we're talking about like the Islamic influence in Muslim majority countries.
So
wait, hold on. I think that's a bit of a false equivalence to say that, first off, the KKK has no political capital at all in this country. And it's a false equivalence because the Taliban has robust political power in Afghanistan, and that's not like...
So yeah, but there was a time that the KKK had robust influence here in the U.S., right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, I would agree. So I would agree. Historically, the KKK was bigger, had more influence, perhaps 50s, 60s, 70s, but not anywhere near approaching the level of influence and power that like the Taliban has in Afghanistan.
Okay, and I agree that the Taliban and its practices are incorrect. But
Sure.
what I was pointing to with the KKK example is that a lot of time religion can be taken and manipulated. And so I'm saying in that specific instance, do I think that is a perfect iteration of what Islam should look like? Absolutely not. But am I here to defend Islam? No, I'm here to protect women's rights. And I think a lot of the times religion can be great, and it's a great thing to practice and keep in your life. Do I think it should bleed into politics and how we practice certain things and how women are treated? No, because it can always be co-opted.
Well, I guess just because you invoked the conversation about religion and you seem to have shifted blame towards Christianity, I was simply just pointing out you yourself are a Muslim, where I mean, I think it would just be, it's objectively the case that at least as it relates to the religion, it seems far more oppressive to women's freedoms than Christianity. And then if you look at the fruits, of Christianity, you look at Western countries that either are Christian or have a Christian heritage, Christian history, you can compare them to Muslim countries, Islamic countries. They're far more rife with lacking in rights for women.
I mean, to be honest, I disagree in the sense that I think a lot of the times there's a few things I want to say here, right? I don't want to have a theological argument with you, but I think if we're looking into the specific texts when it comes to the Quran versus the Bible, the Quran is less oppressive to women, especially at the specific time that it came down.
I think it is a matter of interpretation when it does come down to that. I think that your overgeneralization of the Bible itself is harmful.
I don't necessarily think it's an overgeneralization. I'm just saying if we look at the texts themselves, right? So I've studied both the Bible and I've studied the Quran, and I've looked at both of those texts. And by looking at the text, I can tell you that the Bible is more oppressive towards women, especially at the time that it came down, and the practices that were imposed on the women that were there, okay?
I think you are just experiencing selective exposure.
No,
to
I'm telling you that I read the text. It's not a selective exposure, but what I will say is that the way that those religions are practiced and people have taken them and people have grappled with them and what people have extracted from them and began to practice is very different than what's written in the text itself.
Those are fringe or extremist groups that the entire community should not be defined or labeled by.
Okay, I agree.
That's not what you said. You were demonizing the entire Christianity.
No, I was not demonizing Christianity. I was saying what was in the Bible.
You were saying that Christian men were weaponizing Adam and Eve's story.
Yes, and that is true. But I'm not saying that Christianity as
But not all Christian men weaponize it.
Okay, yes. But I was citing as an example. I was saying
Christian men interpret it that way.
I agree. I never said all men. I said specifically that a lot of times religion is pointed to as this is why women deserve to be oppressed. So I was citing that. And the same thing can be said for Islam. A lot of men use the Quran as a way to oppress women. Any religion can be used to oppress women. And so what I was saying was from the beginning of time, women have been oppressed due to men's iteration of certain religions.
Well, this toxic or this oppressive behavior that you're observing is an individual, not a community.
Yes, I'm saying that religion can be weaponized. That has nothing to do with the entire religion as a whole. I'm saying people can take religion regardless of what the religion is and weaponize it.
There will be extremist groups of any and every group that exists, but you should not label or define a community.
I never labeled
by them.
anything as that. I just
You said Christianity is oppressive.
You weaponize
I said men can take Christianity and weaponize it.
I think that's an overgeneralization.
Saying that men can weaponize Christianity is an overgeneralization.
Yes.
That's
They
just
can weaponize it.
They can and they have.
Yeah, it's possible, but that is an overgeneralization. I don't think you know what that means.
She never said the majority of men.
Hold on. Well, let me let some chats come through and then...
Jacob Joseph donated $200. Chair 1, you cited to the United Nations, the same United Nations that put Iran on the Human Rights Council. Can you please tell me about Iran's record on women's rights?
So, yeah, sure, friend Joseph.
A message from the government of Canada.
Hold on.
Pasty George donated $200.04. So, according to Chair 1, men such as myself who refuse to enter into a relationship with a Western woman, or any woman influenced in any way by feminism, are bad and more likely to unalive women? LOL.
Sorry for the delay
Yeah.
on these guys.
Champagne pop.
Sorry, 2 came in there. Do you want to address Jacob first and then Pasty?
Sure. What I'm going to say to Jacob, right, is if you want to look at Iran, right, and you want to look at what happened, okay, you can blame the United States and you can blame the West for that, for staging a coup. The CIA was involved, look it up, and putting Iran back into an oppressive regime.
And your response to Pasty George?
He said, that men who reject feminism want to unalive women.
Anybody, really quick before you respond, anybody want champagne?
I'm okay.
Champagne?
No, thank you.
1, 2, 3,
Do you
4.
happen to have cider?
No.
No.
So champagne?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sorry, go
But
ahead.
so I don't think, I think, yes, they have tendencies to be more dangerous towards women if you believe that you don't want to engage with any women that have anything to do with feminism. That's a bit concerning. And I think that men who believe that would be more violent towards
Sit
women.
down. Well, too late now.
Well said.
Thanks.
Do you want to?
I'm okay.
I'll take it.
Celine, I know you wanted to jump in on something there.
Yes.
I don't know if you still have that. But.
I'm not entirely educated on the actual texts in the Quran, and I've read the Bible as a kid, but not in recent times. So I'm not going to sit here and act like an expert. But from my knowledge, the literal, if we're talking about just the text here, not the connotations, not the implications, not the people behind the text, if we're talking about the text, I would argue that Islam is arguably more oppressive than Christianity, just text-wise. I would say that Christian people that I have had experience with have been a little bit more oppressive, but that's honestly because I've met more Christian people than I have met Muslims. But again, from my knowledge of the text, it's
Sure.
much more oppressive.
We're going to move off